I thought Rachel did a fantastic job showing the kindness of the character, and while watching, I felt my heart becoming full. I literally walked out of the theater wanting to be a better person, and I love this message for little girls and boys that the most important thing is to be kind to one another, something we have seemingly lost in recent times.
Many months later.
And I'm gonna take it a step further and call you a house nigga.
So I was recommended this video, or the opposite of a recommend. I was told it was a joke, and they weren't wrong. It's everything I hate about Bird Bitch in a single video. He's an arrogant, biased, cocky, delusional, self-absorbed twat that tries to act like he's non-political and objective, all while being as undistinguishable from all the other pathetic, woke, limp-wristed, easily offended pussies that come after the anti-woke. Before I get into it, I'm not covering every part of the video, so if you want full context, watch his whole dog shit video.
So, Eric July, aka Young Rippa 59, has recently uploaded a couple videos, and he's again telling us why he's stopped doing the thing that gave him an audience during the height of what's known as the fandom menace. I could save you 5.5 minutes and tell you that his channel is dying and he's fallen off. That's why he stopped doing reviews.
That's incredibly ironic since your movie reviews only get a fraction of your Grifter and CinemaSins videos. And even though CinemaSins videos aren't doing as hot as they once were.
This will inevitably happen to channels like Geeks and Gamers, Heel vs. Babyface, and Ryan Cannell, as people are beginning to tune out of these types of channels. The only grifter in this space that seems to be thriving is the Critical Drinker, but I'll be doing to him what I've been doing to CinemaSins, so his time is coming too.
See what I mean about being a cocky, delusional asshole? Yeah, buddy, I'm sure Drinker is quaking in his boots. And I'm sure CinemaSins has fallen off due to your videos. And not due to the fact that he's been making the same videos for 12 years and his shtick has gotten tired ages ago.
This is what it always was about, fun. You'd be surprised how many people seem to miss that. Or worse, they pretend like that was never the point.
7 seconds in and he's already lying to us. Well, kind of. I mean, I'm sure making a ton of money shitting on things with your buddies is a type of fun, but Eric is trying to sell us on the idea that the reason he and his ilk did what they did was because comic books, movies, games, and media in general were no longer fun. The problem, of course, is that fun is very subjective, and these properties are still enjoyed by millions of people. I mean, otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about them. If something has no impact, there wouldn't be anything to talk about. That's entirely how this guy made his money.
So you admit it's subjective, yet you call him a liar and a grifter. It's almost like this isn't about Eric lying. It's all about you coping and seething. He's attacking the trash that you like Snow White, the Little Mermaid, and the Minecraft movie.
But yeah, Prince Eric, I like his characterization here, but he's not the best part of the movie. That would be Hallie, Sebastian, Aquafina for me.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, whap, chicka, whap, whap, chicka, whap.
I'm gonna give this movie a B+.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Second, if the shoe was on the other foot and Hollywood was super conservative, you'd be complaining that Hollywood is pushing their messages and not having fun. Also, I love his example of a big win as Superman that couldn't beat Man of Steel, not even counting inflation, and is currently behind F1. At best, it's a mild success, which what a win for launching the Gunverse, with one of the most popular superheroes, barely getting over 610 million in 2025, isn't the big win you think it is. Not to mention you've said this.
This group, Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker, Geeks and Gamers, that one vampire from Blade, they keep trying to sell this lie about marketing. You know the one, that these Marvel movies have giant marketing budgets, so when I show you that Brave New World made almost 2.5 times its reported budget, you, being the nicely trained parrot that you are, would then tell me that this movie's marketing budget was identical to its production budget, meaning the film needed to make around $500 million to break even. If not identical to the budget, something close to it. It's hard to keep up with all the goalpost shifting these people do. Anyway, that's why Will is calling Brave New World a flop, because he's trying to sell you on this marketing budget lie, something that is quite prolific on the internet. Here are all the facts. Number 1, we do not know what the marketing budget for any of these films are because this isn't publicly released information. Oh, that's the entire list. This isn't public information. We only have 2 numbers to go by, and that's this one and this one. And wait until I tell you that this one is also an estimate. Now, marketing costs something, and I'm not saying that it doesn't. What I am saying is that there exists no actual evidence for these numbers on the internet, and the only people that truly know are the producers who put up the money, not anti-woke YouTubers who have a vested interest in the perception that these movies are failing financially. I mean, leaning heavily into whether a movie is a flop is a weird angle, considering you're supposed to be a movie critic, Will. Your concern should be about the quality of a film, not its financials.
Very interesting.
The problem, of course, is that fun is very subjective, and these properties are still enjoyed by millions of people. I mean, otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about them. If something has no impact, there wouldn't be anything to talk about. Your concern should be about the quality of a film, not its financials. There are plenty of incredible films that don't make a ton of money at the box office. Art should not be quantified by how much it sells. There are so many factors that can prevent a film from making money, including luck and timing. That's how you know you're not a real critic, Will, when a movie apparently failing is a point scored on your side. You're just proving that you're a culture war ideologue who has weaseled his way into this discussion when you should be just as derided and ignored as Ben Shapiro is when talking about movies.
Very interesting.
I know what the pushback to what I'm saying is going to be. Sales don't equal quality. While this is a half-truth that only applies in certain situations, the point is quality is subjective in the first place, and the only objective measure we have is sales. Besides, it's a non-point anyway. Otherwise, why do grifters celebrate when something flops if sales don't equal quality? It's hard to keep up with all the goalpost shifting these people do. Anyway.
But let's be real here. Whether it was comic books, movies, video games, or cartoons for that matter, this stuff was supposed to bring people joy. It was supposed to be a lecture. It was supposed to be fun.
I think I and others like Organized Chaos have already shown that this guy is a fake comic book fan, but here he is doing our jobs for us and exposing himself once again.
This is hilarious. The dude that says Eric and other woke creator channels are dying. Then this dipshit brings up Organized Chaos, who has 27k subs, yet can barely put out a video that gets 1,000 views, because he may be the worst YouTuber I've ever seen. Also, he loves to bring up the same horseshit over and over, despite saying the other side is the one that repeats himself.
The idea that media doesn't lecture you is an entirely new non-issue created by conservative media pundits and grifters in an attempt at riling up their base. He mentions comic books, movies, video games, and cartoons, and he is completely unaware that each of those mediums has, historically, attempted to teach people lessons through storytelling.
Wow, what a deceitful little liar. Did you catch it? Eric says it was supposed to bring joy. It wasn't supposed to lecture. It was supposed to be fun. Then Birdman switches it to teach people lessons through storytelling. Sorry, but that is different than a lecture. I mean, look up the definition. An educational talk to an audience, especially to students in a university or college. To lecture someone means to give them a long, serious, and often critical talk, either as a form of instruction or to reprimand them for their behavior. It also implies scolding and severe criticism, or an attempt to tell someone what to do or think, often with a hectoring or patronizing tone, which sounds exactly like modern media.
One of my favorite cartoons growing up was Captain Planet. In that show, a group of teens are gifted power rings, each bearing a different element of the planet: earth, fire, wind, water, and heart. At the end of each episode, the show would feature a Planeteer alert where they would literally discuss political issues and teach the viewer how they could help.
Go Planet!
Sometimes people hate or fear others who are different than they are. But that's wrong.
People of different races can get along.
As can people from different cultures, or those who practice different religions.
Don't judge somebody just because they look or act differently.
We must learn to accept and understand each other for what we are.
It's up to us to stamp out hatred. The power is yours!
This show is from 1990. You know who is also from 1990? Eric himself. And I know what you're thinking. I thought black don't crack. Well, let's just say that being evil ages you. Anyway, my point is there are pieces of media that lecture people that are as old or even older than this man. The idea that sociopolitical commentary in media is a new thing is ludicrous and ignorant of history.
Again, his definition is wrong. Now there's a difference between having messages or politics in a piece of entertainment and lecturing someone. For me, it's more like preaching. And there's three components: the message, the integration of the message, and the target audience. Like with his examples, those messages used to come at the end of every episode, so it wasn't jarring. It was short and to the point and positive, and it wasn't controversial. Pretty much everyone can agree with that message. Now let's take a look at modern cartoons and see if there's a difference.
Model minority myth? What does that mean?
I think she just called you a racist, Bunny.
Black people can't be racist? I agree. Racism is prejudice plus power.
Slaves built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build this. Slaves built this country.
And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering.
And continue to earn reparations every moment we spent submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and white supremacy that America was founded with and still has not atoned for. Slaves built this country.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a difference. Now he gives other examples like Star Trek, but again I would say those messages were better and better integrated, and the target audience wanted those types of messages. Also, if your argument is that entertainment always lectured its audiences, then why has there been such a backlash in the last 10 years? Why has the box office declined so much? Why is directors like Quentin Tarantino and Scorsese saying it's the worst time for movies ever? Now I'm not saying this is all due to wokeness, but it's a big fucking component, and for you and your ilk to dismiss it, no wonder why you're losing the culture war.
The X-Men are famously an allegory for minority groups and their mistreatment. You all sided with the plight of the mutants and their struggle to be accepted by a public that derides and hates them. But I guess when a person is trans or Hispanic or fat or is gay, it's just not as cool as a dude that can create ice out of thin air or a girl that can change her appearance at will.
Again, this loser thinks we hate these people because of their identities, and not because they're ham-fisting their woke bullshit on people. I don't dislike you because you're black. I dislike you because you're an arrogant, duplicitous fuckstick. And again, you would be whining like a bitch if Hollywood was Christian and forcing their messages in media.
When people started calling this stuff out and the injection of ideology in entertainment, there was this coordinated effort to make them look like they were the problem. That they were the ones making fandoms toxic. That they were just miserable people who couldn't adapt. That's a lie.
But it's not a lie, Eric. You people are toxic. You people are miserable. You people are the problem. If there is one thing history has taught us, it's that the future is progressive. In the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church held immense sway over Western society to the point that people could be, and sometimes were, killed for religious incorrectness.
A few moments later.
My point is the future always moves towards progress, and not just technological progress. Our attitudes and cultures are shaped with time, and cultural shift is inevitable. Humanity has become less brutal, more understanding, and more kind over time, and that's a trend that's not going to stop. We absolutely have a long way to go, and I'm not saying everything is perfect, but it is very much true that this is the best time to be alive as a black person or a gay person, and that's specifically due to the progress we have made. That specific progress, being relatively new, will of course feature in the art of the day. The political strife of minorities in the 60s were allegorized in the X-Men comics. Mr. Rogers was the first white person to share a pool with a black person on TV.
3 days later.
Political messaging will always be a part of art, as it always has been. That art will inevitably feature the politics of the current day, as it always has. The problem, Eric, is that you were too young to understand the messages present in the media you consumed as a child and just thought they were supposed to be fun. But adults at the time understood those messages, and they were just as thought-provoking as they are today.
And this guy tries to say that he doesn't adhere to a political side. Yeah, you certainly don't sound like a progressive. A lot of social and societal progress is subjective. Some people think open borders is progress. Cutting off your junk is progress. Being accepting of pedophiles is progress. Defunding the police is progress. Canceling people over jokes is progress. Mandatory gun control is progress. But you're too lefty-brained to see that.
This has happened before and will continue to happen. A piece of art gets released and conservatives get mad about it because the vast majority of non-commissioned art is progressive. You are not special. In fact, you are expected and accounted for collateral damage.
And how is that going for them, numbnuts? How's the box office doing? Oh yeah, right. I forgot it's creative bankruptcy and streaming, and has absolutely nothing to do with the actual content and the lecturing and messages. Again, if you were being lectured with messages you disagreed with, would you not be criticizing Hollywood?
They didn't start the fire, they reacted to it. Because if you zoom out and actually look at what happened, what really happened, the order of events is very clear. You had the publishers, studios, and the activists that brought their politics into the mix first, and they led with it, not the fans.
Again, you are simply lying. First of all, we have you on video calling Miles Morales Peter Darker.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
Talking about Peter Darker.
What does Miles' skin tone have to do with the criticism of his stories? That is evidence of you being a grifter, because at one point you championed Miles Morales as not being a race-swapped Peter Parker and that he was his own character. But once you realized you could earn money literally saying the opposite of your original position, you became a grifter.
First of all, he calls him that because he thinks he's a token, which is a symbolic rather than genuine effort to include a minority group to appear diverse and inclusive. Which you can disagree with, Eric, but that's how he feels. Wow, oh my God. I can't believe Shitman is using the same tired clip to hell. Bullshit he's used for the umpteenth time.
Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make more money pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Did you used to like him? Not judging or whatever. Just curious.
No.
Do you like Miles Morales then?
No.
Yeah, some characters have been written decently, that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy. But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
So that was a fucking lie.
Now for the non-clip to hell version.
Some of these characters fill a role that is centered around a suit. As an example, you have different characters that have been Batman, and different characters have worn the suits of Batman. But we all know the Batman is white as hell, and that's Bruce Wayne. That's the iconic Batman. So if you up and depicted a black Batman, you're going to get some backlash. And yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Now, most of these types of efforts are forced, corny, and lazy, but at least Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy. But Miles is an exception, make no mistake, and it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art, stop being lazy, and taking developed characters and making them of different descent for the sake of representation and diversity. I don't care in what timeline you make it, it'll forever be whack.
I mean, with that context, that doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement. But no, ignore that and just continue to believe Birdman, clipping Eric to hell. Not to mention Eric himself made another video, clarifying this years ago.
What I'm going to mention here is Miles Morales, and I'm talking about, well, at minimum, it's at least decent that they didn't just take Peter Parker, the character, and let's say put him in a new universe and then just race swap him, saying that he's now Peter Parker and he's, let's say, biracial like Miles Morales did. Instead, they created another Spider-Man. It's a knockoff. It's still tokenism. And they named him Miles Morales, right? He's still Peter Darker. At no point do I say, and we're going to listen, no point do I say that I actually like the character. I'm speaking more to the fact that, well, that's far more preferable than them just taking Peter Parker and then swapping him, despite, you can make the argument that's what he is, as like they have a very similar like origin and all of that, but he's at least, his name's Miles Morales and not Peter Parker.
So that was a fucking lie.
And I'm going to take it a step further and call you a house nigga.
What up, my ninja?
In your pathetic attempt at placating a white audience by shit-talking other black people constantly and being cohorts with obvious racists like Az, who call people that look like me and you Shaniquas.
What would her Jarvis be called? Jamaica?
I'm gonna go with shit.
I'm gonna go with shit.
God, what a pussy. Ez makes a joke about calling a fucking artificial intelligence in a TV show Shaquanda. Then this pussy-ass bitch's actual racism comes out.
And I'm gonna take it a step further and call you a house ninja.
Right here, son. You a crazy ass ninja.
And what a hypocrite. You're on the side of snowflakes that gets offended over everything. Then we'll turn around and call Eric a house ninja. But bottom line, sorry bitch, but your side is the side of the pussies that can't handle spicy humor. The side you're defending are the politically correct little bitches. So trying to lecture us about humor is not gonna work.
For example, you all have content criticizing Kathleen Kennedy because you sold the idea to your audience that she was trying to feminize Star Wars. One of the most prominent lies you people told was about this image, where Kathleen is wearing a t-shirt saying, "The Force is female." What you didn't tell people was that this t-shirt was from a Nike campaign and had nothing to do with Star Wars. The Force is a reference to Air Forces, an athletic shoe produced by Nike.
Almost seems like the image you showed, they're wearing Nike shirts from a Nike campaign that is referring to Air Forces. You know, the shoes, Force, Air Force. Get it?
It was a coincidence, in other words, and you all took this and ran with it, lying to people who, to this day, still believe that this shirt was her claiming to feminize Star Wars. This led to an enormous hate campaign against the sequel trilogy, causing people to place that series under a microscope and turning any conversation about the series toxic.
Wow, really bringing out the substantial criticisms. Yeah, it was totally a coincidence that the head of Star Wars is wearing a t-shirt that says the Force is female. Second, to think that this was just sprung up on Kathleen and had nothing to do with Star Wars. That this was a total coincidence is funny. That picture was taken at a film festival that was organized by Archer School for Girls, which the board of trustees of this school are Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, who is her husband. And at the event, Kathleen said, "Right now women make up less than a quarter of all positions in the film industry, and less than a third of all speaking roles. These are all jobs women can do. They just need to be given a chance. So do or do not. There is no try. The Force is female." But no, totally a coincidence.
You see, it's you people that lead with politics. You can't watch a single program without trying to gauge how so-called woke something is. The Critical Drinker literally counted up the children and the acolyte to see how many white children were present, because apparently stories have to include white people, otherwise they're woke. Does that sound normal to any of you? Mind you, this was before the show released, so how is it the artists that are the ones that lead with politics?
I think this is hilarious due to the fact that he's so mad at the anti-woke complaining at their agenda of forcing diversity, which isn't that what the DEI agenda is in the first place? People like you and woke complaining that there isn't enough DEI in Star Wars and literally everything. So again, like all you lefties, it's okay when you do it. And I love it how you play the same little game every time. First you say it's not true, that it's not happening, that we're just making it up. Then after we show you the receipts, you act like you didn't spend all this time denying it. Then you immediately turn around and say, well, what is wrong with that? You must be racist for pointing it out.
So it's not even that there are politics in the material that you are all complaining about. You people can't even comprehend what the media properties are trying to say, and instead elect to be bigots. Lamenting that women are in prominent roles is misogyny. Crying about Sam Wilson as Captain America, referring to him as Captain African American, is racism. Laughing at the sight of a drag queen in Ironheart is homophobia. You aren't even criticizing the performances of these actors. You're whining about their identity. You're upset that non-white, non-straight, and non-male people just exist in these roles. And the audiences that you people have curated over the years spoil the plot, echoing ideas that you made them comfortable espousing. Yeah, you are the problem.
Then this dullard says, nope, it's not the politics in the media. You just hate black, brown, and gay people. Nope, it's not Hollywood hiring people based on their identities and not their merit. Taking characters like Indy, Luke, Neo, John Connor, Thor, Winter Soldier, Doctor Who, James Bond, Joel, and much more, and either killing them, replacing them, or turning them into subservient bitches. But again, this isn't happening, guys. And to top it all off, this fucking bitch pulls out the same bullshit as all the other lefties that he pretends he isn't like. Oh my god, someone in the comments wrote a bigoted comment. That's right, a comment with one like proves without a shadow of a doubt that Eric is a
racist.
The fans just responded. There was no balance, and these weren't just some random trolls or grifters trying to milk outrage.
Yes, they were.
We're talking about the super fans, people who spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on books, merchandise, collectibles, and conventions, and people who lived and breathed this stuff.
This doesn't mean anything. I don't think the overarching claim about you people is that you didn't at one point like the material you're talking about. You're called a grifter for a pattern of behavior, specifically for farming, harvesting, and selling outrage and lying to people. You realize complaining about SJWs and identity politics was profitable, so you literally never stopped.
Again, the definition of a grifter from people like you is anyone saying anything you don't like, or making multiple videos on a subject, coming from the guy who does the same thing, and constantly repeats the same shit over and over, and then he'll turn around and get big mad when people call him a shill for tonguing Disney's asshole, and recommending slop like Snow White, the Minecraft movie, and Borderlands, yet will call people grifters or every Istanphobe at the drop of a hat.
You explicitly created a comic book company to fight against so-called woke politics. If you weren't a grifter, you'd have made your points on that specific topic and it would have faded into the past, and you would have moved on to different topics in this fandom, maybe even discussing the things you like and diving into the reasons you love those things in video essays. But again, look at your content. You have pivoted into almost exclusively hateful political commentary.
You're a grifter for not liking the slop I like, because you haven't stopped criticizing the companies I suck off on the regular. You don't do what I want you to do, therefore it's grifting. You should just move on, because I said so. Oh, and by the way, don't miss the 200th CinemaSins video that I've been doing for 7 fucking years, and will continue to until Hell Freeze is over, even though the channel hasn't been relevant in years. And my 30th grifter video that I will also do forever, because I'm a hypocritical fuckwit who won't look in the mirror, because I'm too busy jerking myself off at the sound of my own voice.
Dude, you're a comic book writer. Why the fuck are you talking about Trump and Epstein and the Sydney Sweeney jeans controversy and deportations? That's clearly not your lane, but you do it because your audience is right-wing and you have to pander to them to make your living. You, like the rest of these grifters, are a prostitute.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
A lot of people know Eric because of his commentary on politics and cultural issues, and being a libertarian, and being against SJWs and woke shit, and to say this is outside his lane is bafflingly stupid.
You'll do almost anything for money, and yes, that includes attaching your brand to known racists like Heel versus Babyface, because your channel is dying and you need the audience osmosis. I mean, how else would you explain allowing a nobody non-writer like Az to write a comic for your company? He has no credentials, has never written anything of note before, and is about as intelligent and insightful as the newborn baby he appears to be. If it's not outright incompetence, it's nepotism at the very least, and that's not a great way to run a business, Eric.
So I know this is a hard concept for you to get, with your 2 brain cells and all, but Hollywood and the billion-dollar conglomerates that it's made up of, the reason we criticize them, because in the last 10 years or so they've taken beloved properties and injected their woke shit inside that is highly divisive and niche. So to dumb it down for you bird shit, they're not giving the target audience what it wants. No one would give a shit if this was an indie movie, or an original film being the wokest thing ever. We only have a problem when you do it to popular IPs. Eric, on the other hand, runs a small comic book company that built his brand on not being woke and giving its audience non-woke stories reminiscent of stuff from the 90s. And Az, say what you want about him, is a massive comic book fan and has similar tastes, so he gave Az a shot, and you would have had a point if his campaign was a failure, but it ended up making over $500,000, which means your point is dog shit. Not to mention you're a window licker lapping up the piss and shit Hollywood spews out, so who the fuck are you to tell Eric how to run his business?
So, like when a whore needs to meet her quota and the sun is getting ready to rise, you'll do anything to put a couple bucks in your purse, and that includes talking about topics you aren't even close to being qualified for.
Does Birdman elaborate on this? Does he give an example of where Eric is wrong about politics? Nope, because that might actually require him saying something intelligent, which is why I think he pretends to be non-political, because it would out him as a complete moron.
They saw the shift, they felt it, and when they saw their beloved franchises being turned into these unrecognizable, agenda-driven messes, well, they said something.
Ironic that you claim these are agenda-driven messes when you're using footage from a deleted scene in your video to make the point that an agenda is being pushed. How can an agenda be pushed by something the audience never got to see? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Just like the Force is female thing, you lie to your audience about Captain Marvel, showing a scene that isn't in the actual film and say, "See, here's that scary feminism, guys." How is this not the behavior of a grifter? He knows that scene isn't in the movie, and yet it appears in his video. In this section, he's claiming an agenda is being pushed.
So Eric shows less than a 5-second clip of a deleted scene that he talks over, and this little pussy has a hissy fit. That's all this video is. Cherry picking, playing the same tired clip to hell videos, and whining like a bitch.
That's not toxicity, that's just heartbreak.
Yes. Calling Miles Morales Peter Darker is heartbreak. Referring to Sam Wilson as Captain African American is heartbreak. Laughing at a queer character is heartbreak. The thumbnail in your video tells me that you're very heartbroken here, Eric. Who are you fooling with this shit? Why do evil motherfuckers try to pretend they are the ones being aggrieved? You are the bad guys. I can't understand how you people claim to be fans of comic books, but grow up to be the villains in those stories. Like, are you capable of looking at the life you lead objectively and concluding that if this were a movie or a game or a comic book, that you would be the heroes of this story? Is that the lesson you learned from the X-Men? That we should hate minority groups and treat them with disgust and fear and cast them out from society? Because if that's what you took from those books, then you, sir, are illiterate and shouldn't be writing anything, let alone owning a comic book company.
Again, more whining, more moral posturing, because this is all he can do. You guys are the bad guys, because you make fun of the woke bullshit, just like everyone makes fun of Christian movies, like God is Not Dead or Left Behind, because it's preachy bullshit, but because he can't defend woke bullshit, and all he can do is seethe endlessly, because that's all his side can do, that and trying to smear his opponents as bigots, even though he'll pull the same shit.
Black people kinda like hip-hop. Well, real black people and not the trash pandas that you know.
But the vast majority of people, they weren't trying to build their careers off of this stuff. They weren't trying to go viral. They were just regular folks looking for others who noticed the same thing. That's also why many content creators blew up during that time. It wasn't because they were feeding rage. It's because they were finally saying what a lot of people were already thinking.
Give me a break. There are audiences on the internet for everything. Head to the nearest pornography website if you need evidence. Even the largest of you people are still tiny compared to other content creators on this website. The Cynical Griffer has a little over 2 million subscribers, and yet CinemaSins dwarfs him by a factor of 4. There are 2.5 billion users on YouTube. The Critical Drinker subscriber base is 0.092% of the potential audience of this platform. For visual learners, that looks like this in decimal form. The reason this is significant is because the global audience is measured in billions.
And how much engagement does CinemaSins get in comparison to Drinker? Subs don't matter as much as they once did in 2025. And it's hilarious he's gonna spin this as, the anti-woke is some small niche movement. Like that isn't explaining wokeness to a T. Yet how many videos has he made on anti-woke YouTubers? If they're so small and niche and irrelevant, why are you crying like a bitch? Saying the anti-woke are ruining everything. That seems like a bit of a contradiction. Not to mention whenever something like the Sydney Sweeney controversy comes out, your side gets endlessly ratioed and clowned on. I mean, the Democrats basically lost an election because of wokeness. But yeah, keep telling yourself the anti-woke are niche, while in the middle of your umpteenth video coping and seething about them.
So yes, you all can capture an audience and continuously pump out bullshit to them, but the real insidiousness to what you people do is that you convince people that because you have a certain number of followers, that it makes what you say correct, and that people who debunk you are wrong or jealous. I know, because they come to my channel saying exactly that.
Nice job pulling the comments of the weakest arguments. God, you're the absolute master at finding the most pathetic arguments and evidence.
Became a voice for the unheard, and people flocked to them. Not because, well, they needed someone to be mad for them. It's because they needed to know that they weren't alone. Now, the rise of creators in this space wasn't the cause, it was the side effect.
First of all, you are ignoring historical prejudices that are the actual cause for these things. Let's take Black Americans, for example. Historically, black people were subjugated in the United States. This led to people not caring or being unwilling to hear their cries for freedom, justice, and the ability to move upward in society.
God, this fucking bitch loves to hear the sound of his own voice. I don't know about you, but this doesn't even sound like he's responding to what Eric said. It's like he goes off on a tangent. But the TLDW is, because black people were disenfranchised and segregated, the white comic book creators didn't make black characters. There, I saved you a couple minutes.
So you see, black people were being subconsciously excluded from comic stories due to systemic issues they had no control over. And it's not that writers were necessarily being malicious in excluding black people from these stories, but you can clearly see how segregation laws and redlining caused a dearth of black people in those stories. It's a direct correlation. So today, studios realize that historically they have unincluded black people in those stories and began taking steps to include them, correcting the original segregation they had been subject to. So this nonsensical, forced diversity nonsense you people cry about is a correction of the original forced homogeneity. And somehow you people view this as some sort of attack on the material instead of studios treating black people and other minority groups with the respect they earned and deserve as pillars of the United States of America. So once again, like the humans in X-Men, it's you people being the villains of this story.
Yeah, there's just one problem with that. Again, I will keep coming back to it, because we all know it's true. If you disagreed with the messages, and it was Christian messages and conservative politics, you'd be crying and screaming, "Force Christianity!" But because you agree with the messages, you defend it. You agree with,
"We demand our 40 acres and a mule." Bump that! You can keep the mule.
Keep the 40.
We're taking our freedom.
even though most people look at that and see it as lecturing, it's preaching, it's propaganda. Most people look at Snow White and Rachel Zegler and say, wow, what an annoying twat. And Snow White should be white, just like Black Panther should be black, which I know is really complicated for people like you. You can have diversity of messages, but it can't feel forced. It can't feel ham-fisted. It can't only preach to the converted. But because you agree, you don't think it's forced. And you and the woke are blind to the problem. You see She-Hulk and say,
don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Most people watch the shit Hollywood has pumped out the last 10 years and think it's shit. And when the majority, because the anti-woke are the majority, when we point that out, we say the reason is because of a lack of merit, the thing that should matter more than anything. The dullard man says, nope, we don't need merit. We need equity. We need forced outcomes. And the rejection of equality of opportunity, because equality is racist. And we all know.
Don't be racist.